Agriculture. Now, most of the Indian population, around two-thirds of the Indian population, is engaged in agriculture, which is forming a primary activity. Primary activity is the base of the economy, which produces raw materials for the secondary activities. The first type of farming is subsistence farming. Subsistence means that the farmer grows crops only for their own consumption or the consumption of the family, and very little surplus or extra crop is left for the market to be sold. Primitive subsistence, which is a very traditional method of agriculture practiced in some isolated pockets or some regions of India, like the northeastern part of India, in Jammu and Kashmir, in some parts of Bihar and Chhattisgarh. In primitive subsistence, the farmers are basically working manually. The entire family works in the agricultural fields and they use traditional methods as well as traditional instruments and techniques. Like they use the digging sticks, hoe, dowel, all these are traditional tools of farming. This method is also concerned to be slash and burn method where the farmers move to a certain patch of land and they completely depend upon the natural or the environment of that particular place, like the soil fertility, the water availability, the monsoon rainfall. So the natural environment basically affects the production in that particular patch of land. Then they produce basic cereals and crops, and once the soil is completely depleted after 2 to 3 cropping, the farmer needs to move to another patch of land and they clear that particular region of vegetation and forest. This method is known by different names in different regions, like it is called as jhuming in northeastern part of India, podu in Andhra Pradesh. It is also called as Dwitpa in Chhattisgarh and Pomlu in Manipur. This type of farming has various repercussions or various kinds of demerits also, like they completely deplete the fertility of the soil. Even burning of patches of forest lead to a lot of environmental degradation and problems and pollution, as well as the crops are of low grade or they are of very bad quality and they cannot be sold in the market very easily. The next method is a little advanced than the primitive intensive farming. It is called as intensive subsistence farming. Intensive subsistence farming also means that the crops are grown by the farmers, by their families, as well as there are a large number of farmers which are involved, but the production is more because there is high pressure of population which has to be served, which has to be fed. Therefore, huge amounts of crops are required to feed the population. In intensive subsistence farming, there is an effort which is made by the farmers to produce maximum from the farms. That means from a small patch of land, a large amount of crops can be obtained. This is the maximum utility of the land. For that, they use modern methods like irrigation, use of pesticides, insecticides, fertilizers, as well as HYV seeds to get maximum production. In this type of farming, mainly staple crops or food crops are grown like wheat, rice, maize, etc. And maximum production is basically for the market, not for the consumption of the farmers. Another type of farming is called as commercial farming, where the crops are mainly grown for commercial purposes. It is where monoculture is practiced, only one type of crop is grown. The seeds which are used are mainly HYV seeds or high yielding seeds, which can grow in various conditions. The crops are produced in large scale so that it can be sold in the market and can also be exported. The main purpose is gaining profits. That is why cash crops are grown rather than food crops. Plantation farming is another kind of commercial farming where crops are grown mainly for purposes of selling and profit gaining. Basically, the plantations are huge estates or they spread over large hectares of land. They require huge amounts of labor to work on it, and basically, one type of crop is grown in a plantation farm and also requires significant amount of investment for machinery, fertilizers, transportation, etc. These farms are very closely connected with industry so that the crops can be further processed. Modern technology is used for the plantations, like setting a cropping pattern, shelter belts, fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides. Use of fertilizers as well as organic farming is also part of plantation farming.